hit me, okay, there was that grilled cheese sandwich on eBay that had the Virgin Mary on it, and that was kind of religious, so maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll say, hey, send an atheist to his local church. And that's what I did. I put this auction on eBay that said, literally, that was the headline, send an atheist to his local church. And I basically put in this posting, I really am an atheist, this isn't a scam, but I really am curious about what church is like. And not just church, just, a temple, a mosque, a synagogue, I don't care, I've just never been to any of those places. If you want to bid, because it's eBay and you gotta have money involved, if you want to bid, say, $10, for every $10 you bid, I'll go to like one church service, or one day of church, or whatever. And I'm not there to hold a picket sign outside the church, and I'm not there to scream obscenities in the middle of service. I'll go, I'll listen, hopefully I can ask questions to the pastor, maybe people sitting around me, but I'll document the journey somehow. Maybe I'll set up a web journal of some sort, or I'll take pictures if you want me to, but I'll do it for every $10. And I didn't think anyone would actually take me seriously on this. I figured at worst, some kid with an allowance will say haha, $10, you're gonna do my bidding for a day, and send me to church, and then I'll go to church and go to a movie, and that'll be the end of it. And it turned out there was this church, I lived in Chicago downtown at the time, there was this church called Old St. Pat's, a Catholic church, historical place that survived the Chicago fire. It was right walking distance from where I lived, so I figured, okay, I'll just go there. So, it's close enough, so I said, I can go to that church, Catholic church, or I can go to whatever, Protestant, Christian churches, whatever. Didn't think anyone would take it seriously. Here's the problem with the eBay auction. Just like with the website, I have no idea how to get people to go to the eBay auction. How do you get word out that you have this eBay auction up there? So I did a few things, and a few things to try to get the message out. The first thing is, on eBay, they have this really nice feature where, if I was selling an iPod on eBay, what do you think is the first question people would have? How much? How much? Well, it's bidding, so you could bid on whatever it is. I think the first question I have is, why are you selling it? And the nice thing about eBay is, if someone asks you a question, you get it in your email, but instead of just responding to that one person, you could respond to their question, and your answer, if you want to, will just be put up on your auction website, so that the next person who checks out the website can see what your auction is, and they can see, hey, someone else asked this question, here's the response to it, so I don't have to answer the same question 100 times. Here's the first question I got, because someone found this eBay auction. First question, hey, I believe in the Taco Bell God, I believe in the Gordita God, so if I bid and I win you, will you go to Taco Bell and, worship the great Gordita God? So, so much for taking me seriously. And so I wrote back to him, well, since a Taco Bell Gordita God makes as much sense to me as any other God, I'll go and I'll worship it and I'll baptize it in fire sauce. Here's the interesting thing though, after that question, for some reason they got very serious. And all of a sudden people, I don't know how they found out about it, but people started asking me very serious questions about the eBay auction. And they started saying, how can you be an atheist? How can you not believe in God? How do you have morals? And I could answer those questions in kind of a short, not very theologically sound way maybe, but in a short way that tried to answer their question. And I wasn't mad that they asked it. I understood why they asked it. But some of the questions, you just realize some of these people have never spoken to an openly atheist person. And I wasn't used to hearing that. Some people ask questions like, where do mountains come from if there's no God? And I just said, here's the Wikipedia link, go read it. But some of the questions were just astounding that it was such a simple answer. How come you haven't thought of it yet? But I think as people started saying, hey, it's kind of cool to ask an atheist these questions, because he's not mad at us asking, and he's not being snarky about his responses. He'll actually answer it. More people started coming, I think, just to ask a question. The next thing was working with the Secular Student Alliance, just any organization. You get to know how press releases work and how no one pays attention to them. But you learn how to create them. Basically, here's what's going on, here's the who, what, when, where, why, and here's the organization. So I made up my own press release, and I said, Hemant Mehta, a 22-year-old at the time from Chicago, is basically doing this eBay auction. And I sent it to the Tribune and the Sun-Times, I just found some email addresses and sent it off, and none of them responded. But I also sent it to the Daily Southtown, which is like the Daily Herald, but for the south suburbs. But I made one change to that press release, and I said, Hemant Mehta, a 22-year-old from Chicago, and a graduate of Carl Sandburg High School, which is right there, is doing this auction. because of that local angle, they called the next day and said, interesting, what are you doing? And let's talk about this. And basically I talked to this reporter for like an hour about what this auction was, what my atheist upbringing was, or my high school upbringing was. And basically a couple days later in the Daily Southtown, here was the front page of the Daily Southtown, auction for salvation. On the front page, if you want to check it out, you're welcome to. But auction for salvation on the front page of the Southtown. And basically, I like the first sentence in there. I think it says, it's the opposite of selling your soul to the devil. And they basically said, here's what he's doing. But I think, all of a sudden that local angle helped more people figure out what I was doing, and now more people were coming to the eBay site and checking out the auction. There was one other thing I did that really helped get the message out, and this is something I haven't seen a lot of local or national groups do, and that is when you have an event, they don't tell the blogosphere about it. There's all these blogs out there, internet diaries that people have. So I basically wondered to myself, I didn't know there were even atheist blogs out there at the time, but I basically said, who would be really interested in an atheist going to church? Who would be really riled up by the fact that, there's an atheist in the first place? First thought that came to my head, Republicans. So I asked some friends, hey, do you guys know any Republican bloggers or, websites? And one of my friends said, hey, there's this one called the Dawn Patrol, and I think it's run by this lady named Dawn Eden. But I found her website, and I found her email address on there, and I sent her an email saying, hey, here I am, here's what I'm doing, would you mind posting this on your website? And within like a minute, she responded back, she's like, it's up there. And I checked out what she had written, and mind you, she was pretty prominent in the Republican blogosphere world. Like, she has a lot of people coming to her website, reading what she has to say, hearing her opinions. Her website had said, hey, there's this guy, there's an atheist who put this auction on eBay. Look at what it says. And then she put a little comment at the bottom. I checked out his email address where he sent it to me from. I basically Googled him. I found out who he is, what he does. I think he really is who he says he is. I really think he's sincere about this. So go check this out. And all of a sudden, there were places all around the internet linking to her website, and all of a sudden this message was spreading like crazy. And now people were emailing the link to each other, and I'm totally out of my control. At this point, it was just a couple days into the auction, and it was only like up to $10, which was still way too much money for someone to spend on this auction. But all of a sudden, I don't know who's bidding, but I can see their email addresses, and maybe if they ask me a question, I can gauge where they're coming from. I figured out there were only two types of people bidding, because now it was getting up to like $50. Two types of people were bidding. One were Christians who wanted me to go to their church, and the other were atheists who wanted me not to go to church. And now they were just setting each other off, and the bid was just getting higher and higher. Sadly, like, no other faith really was interested in this auction. It was just Christians who wanted me to go, and atheists. But it just started getting higher and higher, and by the middle of the week, it was like at $100, $200. I was kind of getting scared. And I got 2 emails during the course of the week. One email was from this reporter named Suzanne who said, hey, I want to write about this. I'll bite. What are you doing? Let's talk. And the other was from this guy who said, hey, have you heard of Kirk Cameron? I work with him. Do you want to be on his radio show? I'm like, Kirk Cameron, he was on Growing Pains. Hell yes, I want to be on his radio show. And I sent the email. I'm like, what is Kirk Cameron up to nowadays? And you Google Kirk Cameron, and basically I found out he runs an evangelical, basically fundamental ministry. And I saw some videos of what they do on their radio show and TV show, because he has that too. And here's what they do. Can I get a volunteer really quickly? Anyone? All right, what's your name?
John.
John? John, are you a good person?
Well, I would hope that I'm a good person.
All right, well let me ask you, have you ever lied?
Yes, I have.
What does that make you?
That makes me a good person.
No, that makes you a liar. Have you ever stolen anything? Anything?
I have probably taken a bagel.
Well, then what does that make you?
It makes me a bagel stealer.
That's right, it makes you a bagel thief. Have you ever taken the Lord's name in vain?
No, I don't believe in the Lord.
Have you ever taken Lord's name in vain?
God damn it, yes.
That makes you a blasphemer. So let me ask you again, John, are you a good person?
Horrible!
That's right, you are a lying-stealing blasphemer. On the day of judgment, are you going to go to heaven or hell?
Probably Poughkeepsie.
You are going to go to hell. they do this to random people on the streets. They just